members, ladies and gentlemen. I'll give some brief background because it goes back to, I think, the 4th of February, when the council met to discuss in closed session an item, and it leads us to where we are today. The term conditional resignation, conditional release, that's circulated. But if you boil it down to that February 4th meeting, the council, after 5+ hours, had concluded that it had to make a move in regard to the position of city manager. I wish Mrs. Mattis was still here. Mrs. Mattis is here. I thought Mrs. Mattis, and I told her this before, I thought she made the most profound comments, and that's not speaking negatively about anybody else's comments on that day. But for those that were there, I thought Mrs. Mattis made the most profound comment, because I'll summarize her remarks when she said to the council, "I don't know the topic that you're going to be discussing, but I believe I know the topic that you're going to be discussing. I'm glad I'm not in your shoes, and I'll say a prayer for you." And I complimented her, because those that would like to see Mr. Straus gone, those who would wish that Mr. Straus has never been here, they probably were looking forward to that day. But I thought Mrs. Mattis really framed it perfectly, because those 5 council members on that day truly had to consider what they believed was in the best interests of the city of Hanford. Many of us, of course, were born and raised here. Some of you came, like this gentleman, just recently. I think if you've been here forever, if you just arrived here, if you're going to be here, you clearly want what's in the best interests of the city of Hanford. And what's great about where we live is that we all can go to the podium and say, with some restraint, about anything that we want to say, which I think is very positive as well. Still in background, some of you would not have been able to hear some comments that were made before the closed session began today, because you were not here before the study session began, but there were some comments, and I thought that Mr. Williams talking about transparency, yes, that's the reason why it's being done on the agenda the way it's being done today. The comment from Mr. Cano, moving forward. I think that's been ringing loud and clear with the council as far as moving forward. And I thought Ms. Pick's comment of healing, it's a term that I keep hearing from lots of people, and I think the council has been looking at the transparency, but still recognizing that you're talking about a personnel matter, so there's a limit to what you can say. And I think they've been looking at moving forward. The chief found my remarks so stunning that I almost fell over. Anyway, on a serious note, the council hasn't gotten to the position where it is tonight easily. Not because they're not putting the time and effort into it. It's just a weighty decision. And it's just one of those things. Easy is good for, like, making a cake. You want it to be easy, you want it to be fast. And in personnel matters, many times they're not easy, and many times they're not fast. And so it requires the concerted effort of 5 on that Saturday afternoon, which I will advise that on that Saturday afternoon, the core of the discussions were unanimous, because I've heard all these stories about different things, the fights and the 3-2s and the 4-1s and all that. In essence, it was a unanimous position of the council. It was how do we move forward from the 4th to a conclusion? And I believe that tonight is going to be the conclusion. And there's lots of ways of reaching conclusion, but I think that the foundation of the conclusion, I think, from the council's viewpoint, is reaching finality on Mr. Straus tonight and moving forward for the good of Hanford starting tomorrow, and not arguing over what Mr. Straus may have done or not done. And therefore, the council has always been looking at the employment agreement between the city and Mr. Straus as to what are the options available. Mr. Straus didn't abandon Hanford. He was informed on the 4th that it did not appear as though he could remain as the city manager. So it wasn't a question of him just saying, I'll leave, nor him just saying, I'll resign and just go away. And the council moved very quickly with Mr. Hoggard because the council believed that it was critical to bring stability to the city. And I compliment Mr. Hoggard for what appears to his ability to bring calm to the city, which has been very good. So I believe after all of that background, that we're looking at the amendment to the employment agreement between the city and Straus. That amendment to the employment agreement carries a date of June 28, 2011. And that particular provision would be in section 3 that refers to termination of agreement under B2, termination by the city without cause upon the city's cash payment to Straus of an amount equal to 12 months of aggregate then current annual salary in addition to any accrued but unused vacation leave. No, not a gift of public funds, but a term of the contract. No, not a payment of money to get some kind of release or anything else. It's just a payment in accordance with the terms of the contract with a view towards moving forward for the city as we all walk out of here tonight. That would be the background information. I can't give any particular details because of the privacy and the Brown Act, but I hope that overview at least has been of some benefit in putting things into perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Dowd.
Madam Mayor, can I ask a question?
We probably broke all the rules tonight already. Why have rules now?
Clarity, I want to understand. So the council's granting $160,000 to Mr. Straus, is that correct?
Only the council could make that determination. I was just giving the background, Mr. Williams, as to what I believe is going to occur, and why I made reference to the particular part of the agreement is to bring clarity to where we're referencing, in case someone tomorrow or the next day or whenever wanted to go look at the contract, they'd be able to know.
I've read the contract. I was wondering, has that decision actually been made, or is it?
We're trying to carry on here, so.
Okay, that's the reason I'm asking.
Yeah.
Are you saying it was made, or?
It was not.
Council, at this time,